UCLA, 2 years. 2 blacks in my class. The other one came with the master's. I didn't have a master's. That was challenging for me. I was encouraged to do that by someone who recognized that it would open other doors, and she probably saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And I don't know why, because I just went asking for a job, and it would have been teaching in an AA degree program, but she was black and obviously recognized. Maybe it was because I graduated from Tuskegee. I'm not sure what she saw, but she said to me, after she asked me if I were married, and I said, no. Do you have any children? No. She said, you need to go back to school. It's like, what? I enjoyed making money. It's like, I just got out of school 3 years ago. At that time, it was 65. I'd been out 5 years. I'm single. I'm making money. I want to save money. I would send my mother money in New Jersey, and to give that up and go to school. But I listened to her. And it's like, okay. Once I was interviewed, and they said it's 2 years. It's like I'm still in my, well, how old would I have been? I was born in 34, 44, 54, 54. I'm in my 30s. That's still young. Okay, I listened. And so, okay, if I'm accepted, I'll go back to school. And I did. And now I'm glad I did, because it opened other doors. The other nurse who was with me at UCLA, she already had a master's. She and another black nurse who had also graduated from UCLA, this was before I graduated, or before Betty and I did in my class, they decided that they would like to start a nursing organization just for black RNs. And so they invited me to come to their first meeting. And I was so sick with morning sickness because I was like 8 weeks pregnant. I didn't go to the first meeting, but that's how the Council of Black Nurses started. So I'm not a founding member, but I installed their first officers. I was very active once they got started, and I was their first historian, and I worked with them for a period of time. And one of the things we did that was very, very rewarding was we had a series of nursing reviews for students who were graduating from the baccalaureate degree program. And what we did was gave them practice tests for taking state boards. And that was for any student who wanted to come to those sessions. And we had practice tests and all. I was instrumental in that too, and that was very rewarding. And I probably served in some other capacity in there. We had our first statewide conference, I can remember, after the Council of Black Nurses started here, another nursing black group started in the Bay Area, and somehow I guess officers in each of those 2 organizations got together, and we had our first statewide conference in San Francisco, and that was so exciting. And of course, the state organization that at different chapters of black nursing groups evolved. It started here, then the Bay Area, then it became a state organization, and you had different chapters. Then it became a national organization. So now you have the National Black Nurses Organization. And I went to a conference 3 or 4 years ago where the same person, Betty Williams, started a multi-ethnic nursing organization. And to see, Betty is brilliant, to see 5 different nursing groups, your Pacific Islanders, your Asian American, your Hispanic, your African American, 5 different groups of ethnic nurses coming together with PhDs, EDDs, law degrees. It was so heartwarming to see these people come from all over, many of them in education, but to think that evolved from Betty and Barbara starting the Council of Black Nurses, and then that organization evolving into a state organization, and that organization evolving into a National Black Nurses Organization, and then that evolving into a multi-ethnic with 5 different ethnic groups. Very heartwarming to see, very heartwarming. Well, one of the things I noticed when I was in graduate school is the dean of nursing at that time at UCLA felt that there was not a need for the nursing cap. And her rationale was the patient will recognize that you're the RN because of the way you carry yourself and what you do for the patient, that the patient would be able to figure it out. This is the registered nurse. And so consequently, nurses took their caps off. Well, now it has evolved to nurses don't even wear white uniforms or white shoes anymore. I personally think something was lost with that decision, even though I conform to it. When I was in graduate school, that's when I first recognized it. Even to go from the uniform to pants. I can remember I was at orthopedic hospital. Even the length of the uniform had changed before we even started wearing pants. And that move took place, or that decision was based on nurses having to bend over, and I can see the length of the uniform, and then eventually pants. But now it's like scrubs and tennis shoes, which I think are horrible for a nurse to, but nurses and doctors wear them now. You don't see a white uniform anymore. You don't see a cap anymore. I think that the status of nursing changed once you change that external appearance. I don't agree with Lula Hassan-Plug's rationale that the patient can tell who you are, because everybody comes in scrubs. Everybody does something for you. And if they wear a name tag, then you can identify who they are. In some cases, they don't. I think the patient needs to know who you are as well as what you're there to do for them. Because otherwise they get you mixed up with somebody else. There are questions I can answer for you as your nurse, but you would have to know that I'm your nurse to ask me, or to feel comfortable asking me a question that I can answer to help you. Somebody else who's wearing a scrub, I'm wearing a scrub, the patient doesn't know the difference, I think. But that's just my personal opinion. So that was one of the changes. The other is the kind of care or the task that nurses, like to not give a patient a bed bath who's been in the hospital for 3-4 days, and now they get you out as quickly as they can. That I get because of the possibility of picking up some organism. I've forgotten the term. Yeah. What else was I going to tell you about that? Read your question again. Oh, how has it changed that? Another is the 3-day, 12-hour shift. I think a lot of errors occur when a patient has worked, when a nurse has worked 3 12-hour shifts or 4, and some work 3 at one hospital and 2 at another. How can you be effective working those, especially if you're working back to back those, but to have 2 days off or whatever number you have off, more than 2 now, if you work 3 12-hour shifts, that's considered full-time. But if you also do that at another job, you do that for 2 more days, that's 5 days you work for 12 hours. I know errors have occurred because the human body needs rest, and to push yourself to comply with what's expected here and over here, you shouldn't be able to work 2 jobs and work 12 hours at each of those jobs because of fatigue and the possibility of errors. Of course, if you don't even recognize you made an error, but the patient is subjected to whatever that error might be if you should make one. That's another change. Pay is good, but is pay everything?